Should the San Antonio Spurs try to sign Guerschon Yabusele? Make it so. What is up, San Antonio Spurs fans? Welcome to TSR Sports. Hope you're having a great day. And we got some good news. Some rumors, but the rumors that are good news. Yeah. I'm seeing reports that the Spurs, take it with a grain of salt, of course, because it's rumor season, that the Spurs are interested in Guerschon Yabusele. Of course, it would make sense for the Spurs to be interested in signing him. We talked about him a lot in the channel. So let's get into an article from Philly Voice. That's right, we're going to look at it from the other side, from a 76ers website. Report, San Antonio Spurs among several teams interested in upcoming Sixers free agent Guerschon the Dancing Bear Yabusele. Let's get into the article. San Antonio Spurs expected to have interest in signing to-be free agent Guerschon Yabusele. Yabusele's potential fit alongside countryman Victor Wembanyama in San Antonio has been obvious for months. Yabusele's versatility as someone who can play power forward or center at any given moment makes him an ideal fit with Wemby. The two already know each other quite well from their time as teammates in international competition. Because they only possess Yabusele's non-bird rights, the Sixers are extremely limited in the amount of money they can offer. The best offer the Sixers can realistically make without gutting their depth will be the taxpayers' mid-level exception worth 2 years and about $11.6 million. And I don't think that's $11.6 million a year. If I'm reading that right, that's 2 years for just under $12 million total. I think his value in the free agent market is going to be more than that, and the Spurs are in a good position. San Antonio has a clean cap sheet and should be able to use the entirety of their non-tax mid-level exception, worth as much as 4 years and $60 million, while also signing the number 2 overall pick and number 14 overall picks as they fill out their roster around Wemby and De'Aaron Fox. Yabusele will not command that entire amount, that's $15 million a year, but the Spurs have the ability to blow the Sixers' best offer out of the water. What do you think, guys? Yabusele, 3 years, $30 million, 4 years, $50 million, somewhere around those lines, which would be double what the Sixers can offer. I don't know how attached Guerschon is to playing in Philly, but their team that is, their best player is a walking injury. They've got some issues. He's played with Wemby before. I can see him wanting to come to San Antonio. Come to San Antonio. Let's talk about Guerschon Yabusele a little bit. 6'8" with a 7'1" wingspan, so undersized for a center height-wise, but he's got girth. 265 pounds. We have a Hulk. He'll be 30 next season, but I'd say he's entering his NBA prime. Last season was his only third year in the NBA, and he played well for the 76ers. 70 games, 27 minutes a game, averaging 11 points and 5.5 rebounds, with very nice shooting splits of 50, 38, and 73. Question I have, Spurs fans, is whoever he signs with, preferably our team, if you're on board with signing Guerschon, does he need to be a starter? Wherever he signs with, he's going to say, I'm not coming off the bench, I want to be a starter. And if so, what's the lineup look like with him as a starter? Of course, there's a big if here with our Spurs. If Stephon Castle and Jeremy Sohan can become average three-point shooters, 35%, that of course changes everything. But now I'm going to go into the assumption that they're still, until proven otherwise, and I know they're doing the work, but until proven otherwise, we're going to have to assume they are still below average three-point shooters. So the Spurs would have an option with a small ball type of lineup and get to play with their second overall pick, which will be Dylan Harper. And that would give us Wemby, Yabusele, Castle, Harper, and Fox. It is a small lineup, and the biggest concern I would have is that you have two players still trying to figure things out. Castle only in his second year, and then Harper in his first year. Are we going maybe a little too young with that lineup? Too young with our wings? I don't know. What do you think? We got the shooting lineup. Wemby, Yabusele, Barnes, Vassell. And I know Vassell has his detractors, and I've certainly been critical out of times over him the last season. Contract's a big part of that, but he is still one of the best three-point shooters on the team. And Fox. That would easily give us our best floor spacing. But two parts of our future, Castle and Harper, would be coming off the bench. Would San Antonio go in that direction? And then there's, of course, the slinging D lineup. For those that like D being slung. Wemby, Yabusele, Sohan, Castle, and Fox. I think that would be our best defensive lineup, but the floor spacing would potentially suck. But man, we'd have some defense out there. With Wemby, stays healthy, defensive player of the year next year. Sohan's one of our best defenders. Castle has shown flashes. Fox can be, cause turnovers. So I think it'll be a very strong defensive lineup. Whatever lineup the Spurs were to go with, adding Guerschon Yabusele would give us versatility and options because he can play at the 4, he can play at the 5. Probably a little too big to play at the 3, I'm thinking. I would really like the Spurs to go after him. I don't think this is just a rumor. I mean, it might just be a rumor, but I think it's very realistic to think that the Spurs would like to bring Guerschon Yabusele to San Antonio. So I'm all in on that. But there's other news that's been breaking, Spurs fans, and I didn't cover this yet on the channel, and I guess I'll cover it here. The hiring of Coach Sweeney. Initially looking like, okay, we hired an assistant coach, whatever. But then I did a little research today, and I was like, wow. Taking Sean Sweeney from the Mavericks looks to be a home run. Don't underrate assistant coaches, which I sometimes do, admittedly. I have read nothing but great things about him. And say we're about Mitch Johnson, putting good assistant coaches around him, it's a great idea. I want Mitch Johnson to work out in San Antonio. Some of you might not, but I really like to see him have that torch passed from Pop to him and have it work out. The big reason being is I've seen the revolving coaches back in the 90s with the Spurs, and that was a terrible time. When David Robinson was the man in San Antonio, had a new head coach every 2 years. I'm watching the head coach revolving door as we speak with one of my favorite teams, the New York Giants. Ever since Tom Coughlin stepped down, it's been a new coach every 2 years, except for this year. This is the first time they've had a coach stay around for more than 2 years. And you can't build chemistry, you can't build a successful franchise if you are changing head coaches every few years. So Mitch, you got a good supporting cast around you. You've got a franchise player. You've got good talent around you. Make it come together. But it's not just all on him. Brian Wright, you got to nail the offseason as well. Last, I want to close with Spurs. It's not Spurs news, but the trade last night between Portland with Anthony Simons to the Celtics for, I believe it was Drew Holiday and 2 second-round picks. I don't quite get that trade. I'm not going to do a video on it because I don't really have a lot to say, except I think that works out for the Celtics. They're in salary cap HELL. They got to unload salary. They unloaded Drew Holiday, who has a huge contract, who's going to be, 35, 36, 37 over the next 3 years, and just 2 second-rounders. So they're cutting salary. They bring Simons in. Maybe they move on from him as well, but bring in younger players, smaller contract, trending in the right direction. Portland, I don't get their side. They're not a win-now team. Drew Holiday's a good player, but I would think he would work better in a franchise that is win now, unless Portland ends up moving him. We could see players get traded and then immediately 180 to another team. So it's going to be a crazy offseason. It's already a crazy offseason. With the Desmond Bane trade, the Kevin Durant trade, now this trade last night, it's not going to end there. Will the Spurs make any trades? I don't think so. Sign Guerschon and draft, and they might trade the 14th pick. We don't know if they're going to draft a player or not, or trade that pick, but I think we made a big trade already this year for De'Aaron Fox. I think it's going to be fairly quiet offseason for our Spurs, except for signings, etc. But if there's a big trade, I'll try to cover it as soon as possible. Drop a comment down below, your thoughts on, I think most of you are on board with Guerschon Yabusele, but the question I have is, if he's a starter, what is your starting lineup? That's the one I think I really would hammer at home, because I think we're pretty much on board. We need to bring in some size, some depth, some three-point shooting. It checks a lot of those boxes. What will your starting lineup be? Would it be similar to the shooting lineup I mentioned, the small ball lineup, the sling and D lineup, or do you have a totally different lineup from TSR that I haven't mentioned? Would love to see your lineups on that. Hit the thumbs up, like, support the channel. The NBA draft is tomorrow night. Can't wait to be live with you guys with Miss TSR and subscribe to become part of our awesome Spurs community. I thank you, and as always, go Spurs go.
Go Spurs go, 'cause the Giants